you very much. Let's go over here, please.
Hi, my name is Ilko. I'm with the New Solidarité newspaper. The first thing I would like to acknowledge the hundreds of thousands victims of the drug trade, the young people in our city who are dying, by mass terrible disaster. My wife is working for a small community organization in Montreal. So the thing is, why we fail to defeat the drugs in Afghanistan, why we fail to destroy the laboratories, why we fail, to destroy the drug trafficking with the drug money laundering. So this is my question to you.
He talks about the drug. How did we, why did we fail to defeat the drug trade
in Afghanistan?
Want to try it?
Sure. I'll take the first kick at that.
Yeah, and we can come back this afternoon or a little bit later with the operational panels. Go ahead.
So a significant challenge, one that also had our government policy being one that we were not, we were not actively involved in taking down some of the drug issues. If we're talking about Afghanistan, I remember visiting there and talking to farmers who were growing grains right next to poppy fields. We try to provide, and I think have worked very hard to provide alternate forms of support for Afghans, to provide them with a future that had alternatives to drugs. From an agricultural point of view, you heard General Mattis talk about the extraction industries. I think that is, we are on the cusp because of the level of stability that has been achieved in Afghanistan, and General Beer would know a lot more than I would now about having international enterprise, which is poised to have the economy of Afghanistan grow, and therefore further fuel alternatives other than crime, other than drugs for the people of Afghanistan.
Let's get a naval perspective, please. Time perspective.
Assuming that your question is not limited solely to Afghanistan, but if we brought the premise of your question closer to home, looking at the cocaine trade out of South America, for example, you have huge quantities of cocaine being produced and shipped by a very sophisticated adversary using increasingly technological means by sea and by land, bringing quantities of cocaine into our cities in North America, which destabilize our communities. But at the same time, going across what we call Highway 10, 10 degrees north latitude in the Atlantic, and straight across to West Africa into the Gulf of Guinea, where the money of corruption associated with illegal narcotics has a real destabilizing effect on those nascent democracies striving hard to develop maritime security capacity and governance and to move basic sort of services for their people forward. So the Canadian Navy and the Canadian Air Force have been working together here for years as part of Joint Interagency Task Force South, headquartered in Key West, Florida, under the U.S. Coast Guard. Ships, aircraft, MPA have had measurable deterrent effect in keeping cocaine off the streets in missions that are commanded by Commander Canada Command. There still is obviously a drug problem, but if we had not put Canadian Forces capacity into that mission, then I'm sure that much more harm would have been done domestically and overseas. So you'll never eradicate this kind of an issue, the scourge, but you can certainly take a stand.